Welcome in the latest episode of the Bet in the Pitch Soccer Podcast. Tonight's episode, we're going through the German Bundesliga, a preview of the 2026-2027 season, a look at the futures. Unfortunately, all we really have is to win the German Bundesliga, and I'm wearing a Bayern shirt. If you are watching on video on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, hit the 5-star review button. It's called Bet in the Pitch if you're looking for us to subscribe for the future. We love those too. At the real underscore G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. And hopefully won't be wearing a ton of Bayern stuff this year, but I'm a sucker for a team store and buying a practice long sleeve, unfortunately. Tonight's episode, we're going to go through each of the teams, the transfers, the promoted teams to start with, as they're usually the lowest valuations. And then, of course, trying to get an idea of what these teams are all fighting for in a league that has now switched its television coverage in the United States away from ESPN, which is, as much as I don't like ESPN at times, it's much better for watching games on demand than any other place. So I'm concerned, especially with how little Peacock was uploading last season from the English Premier League, and that's the number one property. I'm concerned it's going to be hard to watch this league. So if someone has any sort of information, I would love for you to tell me otherwise at the real underscore G Warner on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and of course on Patreon, patreon.com. So that's real underscore G Warner, the best spot for all my plays, leans, write ups across all sports, including the baseball season. That's in the dog days, but we're wrapping up, getting ready for the playoffs. Just added a college football future, which I'm putting on Patreon after this podcast. And of course, NFL coming up, an NFL podcast on this channel with A underscore Schnicker will be coming up very, very soon, the futures episode. We'll start in the German Bundesliga, though, because that's what we're here for in this episode. I will be doing the Spieltag or Matchday 1 lines at the end of this episode and try to find a winner. So we'll start with SC Paderborn. They are the most recently promoted club, and they are the lowest valuation at 46.43 million euros, compared to Bayern at the top at 1.05 billion. So about 24 times worse. Not great, but it is what it is. In terms of SC Paderborn, so Ralph Kettemann is the manager, has been there since July 1st, 2025. They had been, I mean, when I first started paying attention to the Bundesliga, they were in it. It's been a while since they've been there. They've had some decent cup runs, the DFB Pokal, but really I think we're most famous under former FC Köln manager Stefan Baumgart and his weird hat, that they would always be front-footed attacking style, even if they're the inferior team. Doesn't usually work against the better clubs in the world, I gotta say, including the ones in their league and their country domestically. But that's what their strategy used to be. I'm curious to see what Ralph Kettemann is really going to use this season. In terms of transfers in, they spent 8.7 million euros and sold only 6.3, so they've spent more than they've sold, so that's a good sign. But it's a big step up from the Schweizer Liga, the second division, to the top. They were winners in their DFB Pokal match day or first round match against Phoenix Lübeck, which is a good sign because you don't want to lose that first one. That's usually a bad indicator for staying in the league. In terms of arrivals, they brought in Dennis Zeitler on loan from TSG Hoffenheim, Lauren Ulrich on loan from VfB Stuttgart, Gabriel Vidovic from 3 million euros they spent on a left winger from Dinamo Zagreb, Marvin Pieringer, 3 million euros from FC Heidenheim, who were relegated, and another loan for a goalkeeper. In terms of what they've lost, a 6.3 million euro transfer to Celtic FC, Mika Bauer, who's a center midfielder. Free transfers, they lost a couple names that we'd know. Went to Augsburg and Calvin Brackelman, a center back, and then Philip Bilbia has gone to Derby County. I'm not sure there's huge losses besides that midfielder, which seems like that might be the issue. Now, in terms of the rest of the roster, Sven Michel is 36 years old now. He's been with that club a long, long time, has seen some time in other places. Stefan Tigish is coming from all over Germany to play as a center forward for this club. So they've got some names, Pieringer as well. Let's see if they can keep him healthy. That's a big, big question mark. And then the rest of the club, a lot of names that I don't have a ton. Sebastian Klaus is still there, center midfielder. I feel like he's usually defender. Santiago Castaneda, he's been around for a while, been a bunch of clubs. So they've got some names. They've certainly had some experience. Marcus Schubert's still around. And ultimately, they're a team that has some experience at this level. They've got some names, but putting it all together and trying to put a title charge on, not happening. It's really all about, excuse me, late night with the real underscore G1 of the yawns are back. It's really about staying in the league. Next, we move to SV07 0 Sext. Sext. Elversberg. They are worth 59.1 million euros, about 12.5 million euros more than Paderborn. In terms of what they've done in this offseason, Vincent Wagner is their manager, has been appointed July 1st of 2025. So he's been there for a while. That's a good sign. They have sold no players and spent 12.1 million euros. Great sign. In terms of top arrivals, Francis Onyeka on loan from Bayer Leverkusen. Noel Vutkeu, center forward from Eintracht Frankfurt on loan. Cole Campbell, they paid 6 million euros to Borussia Dortmund, which is pretty expensive. I imagine that's a big, big spend for them. Left winger, they also brought in from Bayern München and Maurice Kratenmacher. And then another loan fee for Nov Darvish from Stuttgart. So they've basically loaned in some players, really all attackers that they've bought or loaned. So it's a good thing they didn't sell anything on the defensive side because that's the biggest thing for them. In terms of what they've lost, free transfers to Darmstadt and to SV Austria Salzburg. So not even Red Bull Salzburg. And some guy named Dragon has retired. Their DFB Pokal first round, they were winners 3-1 against Duisburg. I think the biggest question is going to be in the back, how their defense that hasn't really changed since last season, how that does. They were really good against VfL Wolfsburg in the championship play or the promotion playoff, the relegation as it's called, according to Derek Ray. I'm fairly concerned about this team trying to stay in the league, but that's how it should be. Next, go to Schalke 04, who I have seen live at the Signal Iduna Park in Dortmund, and awesome matchup. I'm looking forward to that Revier derby coming back. I believe it's what it's called. Schalke 04 are worth 67.33 million euros, about 17 more than Paderborn. Winners from last season, I usually do really like to back teams that were winners of the lower divisions that get promoted because that's a really good sign for continuity, especially since their manager's been around since May 31st, 2025. In terms of their expenditures, 2.65 million euros, they've only sold 200K. So that's another good sign that they're adding the team instead of just holding on for dear life and selling players because that's a big, big hurdle and you need to have as much talent as possible. Now, what they've brought in, Junior Dina Ebimbe, a pretty famous, I think he was playing for Reims in Ligue 1 in France for 800,000 euros on loan from Frankfurt, and certainly someone that's been in their team before. Robin Gosens coming back to Germany, this time from Fiorentina. He's been all around. Junior Adamu, 800,000 they paid for, bought from Sport Club Freiburg, which is saying something because they are currently fighting in Europe for whatever straight season. Maximilian Volba coming in on a free transfer from Leeds United. And Satoshi, I don't know if he's the one that came up with Bitcoin, but Satoshi Tanaka from Dusseldorf, excuse me, Fortuna Dusseldorf for 1 million euros. So they've loaned in a left back, a right midfield sort of attacking player, and then bought a defensive midfielder, a center forward, and a center back they brought on a free. So that tells me they've basically rebuilt that spine and added some flair players, which I do kind of like that strategy if you're going to rebuild that way. They've lost some players on departures have been on loan. Those don't really concern me too much. Ilias Amash they sold for 200,000 euros to a team I've never heard of before, and things look pretty good to me there. They went to extra time with Halasher, but were winners in the first round of the DFB Pokal. Another good sign that maybe the Bundesliga is going to be sharp this year if all three of the promoteds have stayed up. Miron Muslic is their manager. As I said, already been around. Edin Dzeko is in the club now. Adamu, Kenan Karaman, that's a name that's been around for a while. I mean, I like the idea. There's a huge crowd, big support in the mines, basically the coal mines that they make the stadium look after, which I need to get there. I feel like someday. They've got some famous goalkeeper names, Kevin Müller coming over from Heidenheim. decent goalkeeper, Loris Karius, who I think made some big Champions League mistakes and never really recovered from that. But they got some names, and that's two guys, 33 and 35, that certainly have some pedigree to them. Next, we'll move to Hamburg SV. HSV, they are worth 117.15 million euros, far more than any of these promoted clubs. It's a good sign, and they're one of the big giants in the German Bundesliga, but it's really hard to rebuild when basically with their salary cap rules, essentially. So we have Merlin Polzin, manager, 35 years old. It's been around since 2024. Looks like a red-faced little German Oktoberfest boy. All he needs is the Lederhosen clothes, whatever. They've sold 10.3 million euros worth of players, but bought 12.5. So another team that spent more than they've sold, and that's a good sign. In terms of arrivals, Martin Adeline from Estac Troyes, a promoted club in Ligue 1 in France that moved up to the top level. Free transfer Bilal Nadir from Olympique de Marseille. Sebastian Bornau, another Leeds United center backs, moving over back to the German Bundesliga previously at VfL Wolfsburg. He's on loan. Tara Moffi, center forward, 2 million they spent from Nice. Albert Gronbeck, 4.7 million euros from Stade Rennais in France as well. So they've been adding a lot of talent from Liga in France, or at least in French league in general. Not a huge switch there. In terms of what they've sold, Fabio Balde, 7 million euros to Strasbourg with the Chelsea pocketbooks. Ransford Königsdorfer has gone on a free transfer to Mainz, though he was important to Hamburg last season. Mikkel Brensis has left the club. Lucas Poreba gone for 1.6 million euros. Robert Glatzel, 1.7 million euros to VfL Wolfsburg as they fall to the Schweizer Liga, which is really disappointing. Hamburg were 3-0 winners in the first round of the DFB Pokal. That's huge. Let's see what comes from this club. Also have Patsendaka added from Leicester City, who are now, I think, in the third tier in England. And honestly, I really liked what I saw from this club last year. I feel like they're a great squad to bet at home. Liked what Daniel Oyer Fernandez has done, the goalkeeper, and they got a young 23-year-old Norwegian Sander Tangvik, who might push him and keep that depth there, which is really important. Next is Werder Bremen in the north, also a big rival derby that they play with Hamburg, actually. They're worth about 2 million euros more than Hamburg. Currently, they are managed by Daniel Thune, who took over February 4th of 2026 and stayed up. They sold 40.5 million euros worth of players and bought 7.1. That is dangerous and not good for a team that's really struggled to score for many, many years. In terms of their rivals, they got a free transfer named Chucky from the Real Valladolid in Spain's second division. Aaron Dinci on loan for 400K from Freiburg, as he's never really taken off there, but has had good Bundesliga success at clubs like Heidenheim. Oscar Wojcik, 3 million euros. They bought a center back from Cracovia. Nicholas Fulkrug back from West Ham as they got relegated. Kenny Ketant, a center forward, also from Le Havre on a free transfer. So it seems like they've added their attack quite a bit, and I guess Aaron Dinci was previously a Werder Bremen property. But in terms of what they've lost, they sold Karim Koulibaly, an 18-year-old center back, to Strasbourg. Certainly a young purchase. Mio Backhaus, their goalkeeper from last season, also gone for 12 million euros to Freiburg. Romano Schmid gone to Frosinone in the Italian Serie A promoted club. And those are the big losses, I guess. They did beat Hansa on the road in the first round of DFB Pokal. But this is a team that's sold a lot of talent, haven't really added a ton. Kike Top's injured. Let's see how much Justin Jinma can do this season. They've got certainly players there to perform. They still have in the stage in midfield, Leanin as well, and that's an important two midfielders in the center. We'll see what happens with how healthy this team can be, and you know they're going to have some troubles, and we'll see how many matches Marco Friedl can play at now 28 years old. Still worth 10 million euros, and seems like he's not going anywhere because he's, I'm sure, had many, many chances to move. Next, we'll go to FC Union Berlin. They are worth 126.5 million euros, about 80 million more than Paderborn, about three times the size. It's just saying something and why it's so hard to stay in the league. Mauro Lustrinelli, appointed July 1st, is still, I guess he's still in the job because that was 2 months ago. Stefan Baumgart had made a long-term deal and then was let go, which is kind of amazing. In terms of income, they've sold 2 million euros worth of players, but brought in 6.5. So that's a good sign, like that they're building a club. In terms of free transfers, they brought in a center forward and a center back, names that I don't know. Zeno van den Bosch. No, I don't really think I know him from Antwerp. And then they have Abisher, a really talented, I think, midfielder from Pisa and other places in Serie A and Italy. Felix Udukai coming back to the German Bundesliga from Besiktas. Stanley Nsoki, who's really talented, athletic, but just has so many mistakes in him. He's a 1.5 million euro buy from TSG Hoffenheim, though I think he was already on loan. In terms of departures, Danilo Doki, always starter in their back line. He's gone to Lazio in a free transfer. Diogo Leite also gone without a team right now, which is surprising. I wonder if they bring him back. Alex Krall gone to Copenhagen. Chris Bedia gone for 700,000 to a club of logo I've never seen before. Al Nassr, okay, probably should have seen that one. And Laszlo Benish to Ghent in Belgium. Union Berlin were 4-2 winners over Eintracht Braunschweig in the first round of the DFB Pokal. This is a club that doesn't really matter who the manager is. They're going to defend like hell. And I loved that. And they have a great home crowd. Honestly, one of those stadiums I need to attend next time I go to Europe, but that's not in the cards, I don't think, for this season, as we're likely going to Marseille and Paris Saint-Germain in just under a month. We'll next go to Borussia Mönchengladbach, one of the most traditional clubs out there, but it's been a while since they've been competing on the levels where they expect it to be. Let's get rid of this other window I didn't mean to open. In terms of what their valuation, 129.05 million euros, not much different than Union Berlin. They have kept Eugene Polanski, who was, I think, managing their youth team and took over when they were bottom of the league, and they've done it. He did a great job to keep him up, though I don't know that that's a really great idea always. In terms of income, they've sold 32.25 million euros worth of players and only bought 16. That's a bad sign. Don't love that. In terms of their top rivals, Ko Itakura from Ajax, and he was a previous player for Borussia Mönchengladbach, bringing him back. Ugo Bolin from Malmo in Sweden for 2 million euros. Free transfer for Konoplia from Shakhtar Donetsk. He's always been in top levels in Champions League and such. Isaac Liedberg from Darmstadt. They paid 3.5 million euros for a center forward, and David Erold from Karlsruhe for 3.5 million euros. So they've spent a fair amount on a bunch of players, but they sold Rocco Reitz for 20 million euros, their club captain, big Gladbach fan who's getting a lot of whistles and stick for leaving last season when that deal came out. Nico Elvedi gone to Leeds for 8 million euros. Giovanni Reina, who is not a big loss, gone for 3 million euros. Strasbourg. Nathan Ngumu gone to Nice on a free. Marvin Friedrich back to Union Berlin on a free transfer. Their center back, who never really played a ton for Gladbach. They were winners 5-0 over Schott Mainz on the road in the DFB Pokal first round. That's a good sign. The big question is, do they have enough goals, and how many big mistakes are they going to make? But Tim Kleindienst should be healthy this season after missing basically all of last season. Their big scorer signing that just didn't play all year. Never really a good combination there. But club looks decent. I don't like how much they've sold. We'll next move to FC Köln, worth 135.9 million euros, almost 7 million euros more than one of their rivals in Gladbach. They have Rene Wagner as their manager after getting rid of Lucas Krovniak, whatever he was. They sold 18 million euros worth of players, bought 25.65, which is a big change from the transfer ban that ultimately sent them to the Schweizer League a couple of seasons ago. But that's good that they're spending. They brought in Jakub Kaminski from VfL Wolfsburg that he had already arrived. Jemai Simpson Pussy, I believe it's Pussy. I mean, good luck for commentators. 6 million euros from Manchester City. JSP is maybe the better way to say it, not get in trouble. Ties Delinga in from Bologna on loan. Great player with Toulouse a couple seasons ago. Was a backup striker for Bologna. Never really seemed to take that position. I think this could be a great move for him in his career. Elias Shqiri in from Eintracht Frankfurt for 1 million euros. Was a disaster at the World Cup, but everyone was from Tunisia was as well. Luka Lokushvili from Nuremberg is a 5 million euro purchase at center back. In terms of departures, then they I guess, had Kaminsky finish the loan deal to buy and then sold him to Benfica for 17 million euros. So that was quick. Eric Martel gone to free transfer to Mainz. Dennis Uzenbasic gone to Braga on a free. Rasmus Carstensen, great post game interview. He's gone to Aarhus. I don't know where that is, probably Belgium or Netherlands or something. Gazi Begovic gone. That's a right back as well. They were winners to Wolfsburg kickers in the first round. Still haven't found a German Bundesliga side that's lost just yet. Malik Elmala still around. He's important, worth only 21 or so only 21 years old, worth only 250,000 euros. That seems crazy, unless I'm thinking about the wrong player. I'm thinking about Saeed Almala, worth 45 million euros at 20 years old. So they clearly all in the family. Want to keep him. I imagine he'll move, but we'll see. They also got a loan from Manchester City, actually a buy for Manchester City, Regan Heskey for 2 million euros. I'd like to see what that turns into. Ragnar Ake is still around, and they've certainly done a fair amount to rebuild this club in a lot of different ways. I love Marvin Schweba as a goalkeeper, always reliable, I think. Next, go to FC Augsburg. They're worth 160.1 million euros, about 25 million more than Cologne, which is a lot for them ever since they got really scared of buying players with the disaster that was Ricardo Pepi from the United States men's national team. Manuel Baum is still around, appointed in May of 2026. He's spent about 1 million more than they sold, so that's a good sign. In terms of arrivals, they got Young Musiol from Slava Prague in Slavia, excuse me, from Red Star Belgrade. Similar Red Stars on both those logos for nearly 4 million euros. Rodrigo Ribeiro, center forward from Sporting Clube Lisboa de Portugal, 5 million euros. Enes Behrens, left back, 3.5 million from Hoffenheim. Brackelman on a free transfer from Paderborn, already mentioned. Sima Suso, 1.6 million central midfielder from Fortuna Dusseldorf. Departures: Kevin Schlotterbeck gone to Southampton for 3.85 million euros. Cedric Zeziger gone to Young Boys Bern for 3.5 million euros. Dimitrios Giannoulis gone to PAOK for 4.25 million euros. Rekrzai gone on a free transfer. Elias Saad gone to Nashville on a $250,000 loan. Interesting. They beat Energy Cottbus in the first round of the DFB Pokal. They've gotten rid of a lot of that lineup, I gotta say. So we'll see. This seems like a pretty new club. It concerns me, especially with the valuation. Seems very, very high. I'm not sure I buy that, I gotta say. So we'll see what they end up looking like this season. But Finn Dahlman's been really good despite being undersized as a goalkeeper, and they're really good at home. It's really hard to beat them there. Next, go FSV Mainz 05, worth 175.2 million euros, 4 times as much as the bottom club. It's a big difference. They still have Urs Fischer in charge, one of my favorite managers to bet. They've spent 9 million euros, sold 10.2, so that's not a great sign, but it could be worse. In terms of top arrivals, they brought in Eric Martel on a free from Cologne. 4 million euros, they bought Stefan Posch from Como and other places because he's been everywhere, including at Mainz. Ransford Königsdorfer on loan, or excuse me, on a free transfer from Hamburg. Fabio Gruber from Nuremberg. And Sota Kawasaki, who is, I think, already playing for them, I want to say. Top departures: Nelson Vipa, gone to Sturm Graz on loan, but he's never really taken off. Just scored one late goal to kill me in an under I played. I remember that. Tom Kraus, gone to Cologne for 3.5 million euros. Arnaud Nodin to Stade Rennais in France. Nicolas Verachny, gone to Red Bull Salzburg in Austria. And those are the only names I know. They were 9-0 winners over VfB Kraichgau in the first round of DP Pokal. I love their manager. I want to back him every time he plays. I'm going to try to not do that so seriously. But Gerardo Backer's back in the team. Longtime Union Berlin servant of Urs Fischer, or it's probably a bad way to put it, but great player for them. And I just want to see that they can keep this core together. Speaking of Dominic Kor, who's a red card waiting to happen, hopefully he just gets less of those. But Robin Zentner, a great goalkeeper. Hopefully he stays healthy this season. Next, we'll move to SV Freiburg, competing in Europe again this season, worth 236.4 million euros, about 8 times more than the bottom club. That's where we see the differences, unfortunately, in these clubs. Julian Schuster still managing because they don't really change them. They've sold about 88 million euros worth of players, 87 and a half, and bought 36. That's not a great sign, but they're a selling club. They do it all the time. The biggest arrival was a goalkeeper, Mio Backhaus, which is kind of surprising because Noah Atabulu is the future, the present, all those sort of things. But I wonder if he's going to go on a move sometime soon. Keisuke Goto, 10 million euros from Anderlecht in Belgium. Rihito Yamamoto from Sint Trudens Vevey. That's got to be Belgian or Dutch. Yannick Engelhardt in from Como for 7 million euros. I mean, that's some pretty big expenditures, but they took in 60 million euros on the sale of Johan Manzambi after a great World Cup before he got injured to Aston Villa. Merlin Roll already on this Everton books, but that deal was finished. Aaron Ditchy gone on loan to Werder Bremen, as already mentioned. Adamu gone to Schalke 04, as already mentioned, and Robert Wagner on its way to Dinamo Dresden in a lower division. They were 4-1 winners in Conference League qualifying. They've been really good there. Backhouse played in that one. No sign of no Atabolu, which makes me think he might be moving. That would be my current guess. We'll see. Yeah, looks like Frankfurt's trying to buy him. We'll see. They're always a good club. Struggle with the biggest teams in Europe, but who doesn't at this point? And they're probably the team I've followed the closest in the German Bundesliga ever since COVID. Well, next move to TSG Hoffenheim, the biggest surprises of last year, always fighting relegation, and then we're at the top of the table for a very long time. They're worth nearly 295 million euros. And that's a big, big step up for them. In terms of manager, Christian Ilzer, I talked a lot of noise about him when he came in from Sturm Graz in Austria, and then they've been really good. They've sold 71.2 million euros worth of players. They've bought 66.2, so that's a lot of business to say the least. And that's kind of tough for a good team that really overperformed. They were 4-0 winners over Erzgebirge in the first round of the DFB Pokal. In terms of top arrivals, 18.5 million euros for central midfielder Nathan De Cat, nice name. Adam Dagim from Salzburg for 13 million euros. I want to say he was there on loan. Patrick Wimmer for 10 from Wolfsburg. Mats Rotz in from Twente for 12 million euros. And then Kaiten Lanes from Bochum for 10 million euros. That's a lot of spending for them. They sold Bazumana Toure, one of the fastest players in the Bundesliga last season, 50 million euros to Newcastle. The money is incredible in the English Premier League. A $1 million loan for Gift Orban. He's been playing in Verona and other places around. Mohamed Damar gone to Wolfsburg for 5.5, and his Barons on his way to Augsburg for 3.5. Eris Tabakovic, center forward, to Salzburg, and that he was playing a lot for him last year. So we'll see what ends up happening with them. I'm very curious to see what this team looks like because they were great last season. Can they keep it up? I'll probably say yes because the manager's still there, and that's usually the most important part. Keeping Andre Karamovic healthy, also very important. We'll see if they can do that. Oliver Ballman's still there in goal, 36 years old, though he didn't play much for Germany's national team this year. A few more teams left to go through, then we'll get to the match day one, the Spieltag one lines, and then get us out of here and get to the Major League Baseball podcast, which is supposed to also still come tonight. We're moving now to Eintracht Frankfurt. They have Adi Hutter back in managing, and things have gone well in the past with him. Income, they sold 78.25 million euros, bought 30.3, so that's not a good indicator. Top arrivals, Rafael Onyedika from Bruges, $9 million defensive midfielder and good player. Noel Aseko, a defensive midfielder from Bayern for 12 million. Noel Fotkeu from Panathinaikos for 1.3. Otavio in from someone I don't know, 4.5 million euros. Malik Pimpong in from Michelin. Top departures, 50 million euros. Nathaniel Brown to Bayern München. That's going to be a loss at left back. Aurel Amenda gone to Coventry for 18 million. Ali Wahi gone on loan to Nice, so he's been in France for a lot of his career. Rasmus Christensen gone to Michelin for 6 million euros, and they've loaned out Futkeu to Elversberg for that 1 million euros. They bought him for 1.3, so guess they're only paying 300,000 worth of wages. They won 11-0 over SC Saint-Tonis. in the first round of the DFB Pokal and look like they're about to get Atobolu. That's what it seems like to me. Carlos Santos was not great. Zederer is a good goalkeeper, but Atobolu certainly would be an increase, and I think that's what's a telltale sign if Freiburg is going to get a goalkeeper, it's because they're getting one or one's leaving. In terms of this team, I mean, they're usually really good. They have some bad starts and streaks in them. I guess maybe a streaky team is a better way to say it. Next, we'll go to VfS Stuttgart, worth 423.45 million euros, about 10 times as much as the lowest valued club in the league. And I really love them at home. I love Sebastian Hoeneß. I'm wondering when he's going to move on to another club, but Stuttgart are a big name in Germany. They've sold 9.4 million euros worth of players and spent 55 million. That is a good sign to keep Hoeneß around. In terms of top arrivals, Bilal El Khanous was already there. Desnan Bacinovic from Wolfsburg for 25 million euros, the big spender. Leo Sauer from Feyenoord for 15. Grisha Promo on a free from Hoffenheim. And then top departures, Jovan Milosevic for 8 million euros to Braga. Not much. And then some loans of younger players. So it seems like they're building. They were 4-0 winners over Hansa Rostock in the DFB Pokal first round. Good sign. And we'll see what happens to their goalkeeper. That's an interesting thing for me. Fabian Bredlow, I guess he's been a decent goalkeeper in the past, but they all of a sudden do not have Alexander Nubel anymore. He does have some big mistakes in him. Has been pretty small in big stages, but it's generally a solid goalkeeper. We'll see what happens there. Next, we'll Bayer Leverkusen, the fourth most valued club in the Bundesliga, 464 million euros or so, almost exactly 10 times the bottom club. In terms of they brought in Carlos Martinez, previous manager of Toulouse in France, after he took over when the manager before him got in a fight with the board. Pretty offensive attacking manager, Spanish background, Spanish descent, Spaniard. And Toulouse honestly was so good at playing up to their competition. That's a good sign for Leverkusen. In terms of income, they sold about 120 million euros worth of players, bought 99. So that's a lot of business, and we'll see what that does, especially the new manager coming in. In terms of top arrivals, Afonso Moreira from Lyon for nearly 30 million euros. Miguel Gutierrez in from Napoli for 26. Facundo Medina in from Marseille for 23. Karim Alabegovic from Salzburg for 8. Who then they sold to Juventus, which is kind of wild. Kenneth Eichhorn for 9 million euros from Hertha BSC. Clearly they're doing some business over here. Piero Ngapié gone for 40 million euros to Arsenal, but he was already there. Ernest Poku gone to Besiktas on loan for 3 million euros, but that's because he's young. Ezekiel Palacios for 22.5 million euros to Ipswich. Alejandro Grimaldo for 15 million euros to Atletico Madrid is probably the biggest loss for them. They bet Wehen Wiesbaden for beat them 4-0 in the first round of the DFB Pokal. I think the future is very bright. Malik Tillman, the U.S. men's international in the club, so if that's valuable to any Americans listening. And this is a pretty stable club, I would think. And I'm very curious to see how Carlos Martinez does. I expect it will be good. This team always has a ton of talent. To the third most valued club, and that is RB Leipzig, worth over 500 million euros and returning to Europe after not playing in it last season. They are managed by Martin Di Michelis, an Argentine, and he's been around, but was appointed July 1st, 2026. In terms of what they've sold, 172.75 million euros. That's a lot. They bought 48 and a half. So that's a big, big, big difference. A lot because they sold Jan Diamande for 125 million euros. And I got to say, got to see him live in Dallas playing for the Côte d'Ivoire in the World Cup, and he's awesome. And I look forward to watching him whenever I can. In terms of top arrivals, Maxime Esteve, 25 million euros from Burnley, previously of Montpellier in France. I've been following him for a while. I think he's very good. We'll see what he does in this level. Christopher Nkunku back on loan from AC Milan after not really having anything work for him at Chelsea or Milan, really, or anywhere else. Rocco Reis in for 20 million euros, already mentioned, club captain of Borussia Mönchengladbach. Orion Nieland in on a free transfer from Sevilla. Ota Yamamoto also for 500,000 euros, smaller name. In terms of other sales, Lois Openda, 42.75 million euros to Juventus. Gertruida back to PSV on loan for 1.5 million euros. Elif Elmas gone to Atalanta for 2 million euros, so he's been gone for a while. And Xaver Schlager gone to Nottingham Forest on a free to reunite with Oliver Glasner. Leipzig were winners against Eintracht Trier for 6-0 in the first round of the DFB Pokal. That's a good sign. And it looks like no Bundesliga clubs lost in the first round. That's amazing because it usually happens. Conrad Harder, looking forward to seeing how he does. This team is loaded. They've got tons of talent. We'll see how Di Michelis does as a manager. I feel like he's been all over the place, I gotta say. Let's see where he's managed before. For some reason, I feel like there's time to do that in this podcast. There might not be, as we also need to load Dortmund and Bayern München as well. Di Michelis, I want to say he was in Spain. He was at Mallorca before they got relegated. Oops, bad for American ownership, especially all the money they put in the club. But that's what happens, and that's why we love all this stuff. RB Leipzig going to be really talented and should be selling players every year, but that's what they're used to. I guess big question. So Nieland as an insurance is goalkeeper behind Van de Voort, who took over for Galashi, who's getting up there in age, but was really good last season. Borussia Dortmund, then they're worth 529.45 million euros, about half as much as Bayern, and that shows you how different teams are in this league. Niko Kovac still managing, former Bayern manager, has been all over at Monaco and such. He's quality, and I like him a lot. Income, they've sold 38.5 million euros worth of players, bought 108.5. That's a big change. In terms of top departures, they have, or excuse me, top arrivals. They brought in Konstantinos Carezas from Gink, I believe, for 30 million euros. Giannis Kostantelias from PAOK for 26 million euros. Both attacking midfielders. Center midfielder Joey Veerman in from PSV Eindhoven, 22 million euros. Joan Gadou from Salzburg for 19 and a half. So pretty much everything in that spine is what they spent money on. I like that. They sold Karim Adeyemi to Barcelona for 22 million euros. Jan Couto on loan to Como for 3. Julian Brandt gone to Ajax. Deont Ramage to Copenhagen, who was playing in for Heidenheim last season. Julian Duranville gone for 5 million euros to Lyon. So there's a lot of talent here. There always is. Getting them to play together is a big question. How they perform. They've honestly been really good in the Champions League, just not good in the Bundesliga. That honestly makes me feel like they're a little bit undervalued, but will be big favorites against most of their league. And that's the thing. Maybe besides when they go to Leipzig or something. That's the really only thing that I think we have to worry about. So, and Gregor Kobel in goal is awesome. We'll always respect him as a penalty killer. Last but not least, we'll go to the Meisterschale, the holders, the DFB Pokal winners, Bayern München, worth over 1 billion euros, and they are going to be hard. Vincent Kompany's still around. He's been a great manager for them. He seems like he's going to be there a long time. They've sold 51.25 million worth of players. They've bought 107 million. So Bayern is doing the Bayern thing. Top arrivals: Ismail Saibari from PSV for 50 million euros. Nathaniel Brown for 50 million from Eintracht Frankfurt, which seems like the going rate that they buy players for. Noel Aseko from Hannover 96 for 3.45 million euros is cheap. Baro Sapoko Njai, don't know that name. In terms of departures, Joao Palhinha gone for 14 million euros to Lisboa. Then they, I guess, bought and then sold. Well, let's go back to Hanover. That seems weird to me. Alexander Nubel gone to Besiktas for 6.25 million euros, previously of Stuttgart. Noel Oseko, excuse me, has been then sold to Frankfurt for 12. I don't really get that. Free transfer Leon Goretzka, who's been around for a long time. He's now at Aston Villa. So this team's awesome. Their backups are better than everyone. They're going to kill everybody. And I'm going to do my best not to lose money fading this year. Probably Champions League or road games really only. Giant favorites. Sometimes at home they don't win by a lot, but their 7-0 victories are really punishing when you play a +2. Now it's time to get the futures. Then we'll get to the first round of the or Spieltag. Spieltag Ein, the Matchday 1. So Bayern minus 750 to win German Bundesliga. Enormous. 750 US win 100. That is so much. Dortmund 11-1 to win, Leipzig 14-1, Leverkusen 18-1, and there's a huge gap to Stuttgart at 66-1. I don't think that Stuttgart is that far off from Leverkusen. They spent a lot of money, love their manager, they play really well at home. I would consider them more a part of that group. We'll see with Hoffenheim at 150-1. They're did a lot of business, and that's always a concern. But I like the stability at Stuttgart. Probably will be looking around to find some German Bundesliga action to see if they finish top four or something like that. Because I think Stuttgart has some value there at 6-6 to 1, too far off of Dortmund, Leipzig, and Leverkusen at 18 to 1 or better. As for the first match day, Spieltag ein, I have not seen these numbers yet. So now we'll start on a Friday matchup. The opener, Bayern München hosting Stuttgart after going on the road in the DFB Pokal to play Dortmund on the road, which seems rather rude to start a season that way. But Stuttgart are going to be big, big underdogs. Currently at BetOnline, the total is 4.5 minus 133. That's enormous. Stuttgart, though, are certainly talented. They're a 2 goal underdog, even money right now. I'm interested there. It's a big, big number, though. So we'll move next to Union Berlin and Eintracht Frankfurt. Find that number. And let's see where we go with this one. Okay, Union Berlin. They are currently a slight favorite, actually. Pick 'em minus 113 at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. Um, I love the home crowd for Union, but I was really hoping they'd be an underdog here. Total is 2.5 plus 114, so probably 2 3/4 is the better number across the marketplace. Lean under, but Eintracht Frankfurt, they're tough because they certainly have goal scoring talent. That's probably why I was hoping they'd be a favorite here. Next to RB Leipzig hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Gladbach are a underdog. And let's see how big. They are a 1 goal underdog minus 103 currently at BetOnline. If you're not a member of BetOnline or sportsbet.ag, please hit me up because I'll get you a referral, 50% bonus, and some free spins to win some money in their casino. I think 100 of them. And there's not a lot of places giving out free money with deposits at this point. Total is 3 in this one, plus 108 is the under. So probably 3 1/4 is a reasonable number that's out there. Gladbach going on the road to Leipzig. I mean, they're probably going to play for a low scoring game. Leipzig has so much talent, even after selling as much as they did. Next, we'll move to Köln hosting FC Köln hosting TSG Hoffenheim. Currently, let's find this number that I made. And I was expecting Cologne to be a home underdog. I think a lot based on how well Hoffenheim performed last season. Cologne are currently a pick'em plus 119, so probably a 1/4 goal underdog across the marketplace and other places. In terms of the total, we've got 3 minus 108 to the under, minus 112 to over. Cologne are not going to be as offensive because they can't be. It's impossible. Hoffenheim, though, they score a ton of goals. They probably have a little bit weaker defense this season. I'm probably more interested in Cologne, especially that 1/4 goal underdog. We'll have a good crowd behind them. It's not really the most intimidating, but it's something, and those things matter. Next, with Elversberg and their return to the Bundesliga. I don't think it's a debut, but it could be. They're at home to Bayer Leverkusen. So let's find that number. Here we go. And I'm expecting a home underdog here. So let's see what they are. Elversberg. They are +1, a 1 goal home underdog, something that's really tough for me to resist, though I do like the Leverkusen talent a lot. Total is 3 here, plus 109 to under. And Elversberg, they had their manager lured away last season I think to Werder Bremen, if memory serves. They were playing great football. I don't know really, probably a wait and see to see what they do, but they did get through VfL Wolfsburg, a much bigger budgeted club last season in the relegation playoff. So that means something, and I do like that continuity. But Leverkusen are very talented. Last game in the normal window of Spieltag ein is Mainz 05 hosting SC Paderborn. Let's find that number. Like clearly the order that I got these games in from ChatGPT were no interest in putting them actually in the order of the games kicking off. Okay, Paderborn should be an underdog here and are. Currently, Paderborn a half a goal underdog right now with all the juice, minus 145 on Mainz. So that means they're more like 3/4 a goal underdog. In terms of the total in this one, it is 3 minus 139. And there were enormous totals with Heinz Fischer while he took over from Mainz. I don't expect that to continue. He's going to whip that team into shape and play really good defense, I suspect. So I'm very interested in playing unders with him, especially if they're going to be this large this whole time, because they really should not be, in my humble opinion. Next, we'll go to The Topspiel, the biggest game on of the weekend, and that is Borussia Dortmund hosting Hamburg. Currently, Hamburg, they played them really tight last year. Remember, I feel like Dortmund winning a game late at the end as a big favorite. We got 1.5 right now. Dortmund minus 114 on the home favorite, minus 105 on the underdog. As that is three, the total is three plus 106. So we'll probably get some 3 and a quarters out there. And I gotta say, I'm fairly interested in the underdog. It is very tough going to the Signal Iduna Park, but and they did just play Bayern in the Super Cup, so that does help certainly in some way, at least to get you ready for the competition level. So this will be a step down in competition. We'll see how that impacts Hamburg, but at this point, I'm still very interested in backing a team that I think was really solid, kept their manager, and that's really important. To the two matches Sunday, we start with Sport Club Freiburg, and they are hosting Werder Bremen. Currently, Bremen are a half a goal underdog, minus 124, which is pretty respectable, but Freiburg did just play a second leg Conference League qualifier, so that might impact things in the lineup here. Total is 2.5 plus 105 to under, so probably some 2 3/4 out there right now. Freiburg have scored a lot more goals than I think they deserve to in recent seasons. We'll see if they continue to keep that going. I don't really trust that from Werder Bremen at all, especially with Schoen as their manager. That seems like a low scoring guy to me. Last game on our list, Augsburg hosting Schalke 04. Schalke are a half a goal underdog in their return to the Bundesliga, but more like a quarter of a goal because that's a lot of juice, minus 148 currently displayed. Total is 2.5 in this one, plus 108 to under, and I will forever lean to the unders with Augsburg at home, most likely, and especially as that's likely a 2 3/4 that's out there. Bundesliga certainly plays some high scoring games compared to the other leagues, but it does not scare me just yet. I'll say that way. Now for an ultimate best bet coming from strictly the German Bundesliga and strictly from Spieltag 1, Spieltag ein, because there's not a lot of value in futures to win the whole thing, though I'll certainly be looking around for something on Stuttgart, as I already mentioned. Before we get to ultimate best bet, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube at the real_G Warner. Follow the Instagram account for the reels at the real_G Warner. Hit a 5-star review in for Betting the Pitch Apple Podcast and on Spotify. And of course, follow us on Twitter at the real_G Warner for everything you could ever ask for, and especially links to all these podcasts so you can listen to them wherever you are on the road to work, listening to your kids, trying to get them into gambling at an early age. Just kidding. Probably don't do that. But I appreciate the support, and especially on patreon.com, patreon.com/the real_G Warner. Best spot for all my plays, leans, write-ups across all sports. You get leans, if you download the app, turn on notifications, you get a buzz every time I lock something in, so you make sure you get the right price and get the same price that I'm getting right as I'm getting it. For our ultimate best bet on this episode, the opener preview for 2027 of the German Bundesliga, and of course the Spieltag ein, the first match day, I'm going to go with FC Köln, a quarter goal underdog at home on Saturday morning here in the United States. Quarter goal underdog, FC Köln. I think they play Hoffenheim tight, and we see a lot of the changes to Hoffenheim maybe come back to bite them.